Hi, everyone. This is Ed Mabry with FaithByReason.net.
Hi, Ed. I'm Pastor Jerry Girardo with Lighthouse Christian Church in Nevada. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. How's everything going?
Things are going pretty well. Lots of adversity that we're contending with, all of us, but we recognize at the same time God's blessings, even in the midst of it. So thankful.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a little bit of adversity getting this video set up, but we're fine. We're going to do great. And speaking of adversity and blessings that are around adversity, that's really been what you've been talking about the last few weeks, is how we deal with adversity. And we are in a season of just a lot of things happening, a lot of tough situations that we're all dealing with, but God is always at work through it all, and He wants us to handle that adversity well. And so we have to be prepared for such a time as this. And that was kind of the theme of your message this week. And you use the story of the book of Esther as an example of being prepared for that time. So can you tell us a little bit about the book of Esther, about that story, and how God worked behind the scenes to make everything work out?
Yeah, incredible story. And thank you for, just the preface there. This is our last message on this series dealing with adversity. And you're right. What a time. Well, there's always adversity in life. We know that. And sometimes you're really put upon. There's things that come at you that are really tough. But in this season, all of us are also contending with COVID, and we've had fire season and all kinds of extra challenges in this season. So I trust these messages are helpful, but this message about Esther, her life is an incredible story of how God used this person, raised her up, put her in the right place at the right time so that she could be the catalyst and help to save the Jews from being exterminated. And she was living at that time in this period, which was after the Babylonian exile. And many Jews had returned to Israel, but many remained behind for one reason or another. And she was one of those who had remained behind. She was born there. We find out that she was an orphan. And so your heart immediately goes out to Esther. You hear she's an orphan, but she was an orphan because she lost mom and dad, but the Lord had not abandoned her. In fact, an older cousin, Mordecai, steps up to raise her as his own. So we see God's special provision for her right from the beginning of her life story. But there's a neat parallel because the Jews are in exile, and it might seem like God has abandoned them, but He clearly hasn't. And this story, as it unfolds, demonstrates how God has not only not abandoned them, He's there to intervene for them and on their behalf to bring about a complete reversal of fortunes. It's really a remarkable story. But as it unfolds, we learn that Esther is a woman of wonderful character. Her cousin Mordecai was this godly man who had raised her faithfully. She's a virgin. And as the king was looking for a new queen, he sent out to the kingdom to bring those women who would meet the qualifications, being a virgin, being a good character, and then train them and have them in the king's household, so to speak, for a period of time and evaluate who he was going to choose. She went through that whole process, and she was the one who was selected to become the next queen of this incredible empire. So God had really put her in an interesting place. But as the story unfolds, we find out there's also evil afoot. And this advisor, this top advisor in the kingdom, Haman, who had received all these accolades and great favor with the king, was so bothered by Mordecai that he purposed to kill him and also destroy all of those who were associated with him, the Jews. And it was an unthinkable thing, but this plan was unfolding, and Mordecai helps Esther to understand that maybe, just maybe, you're in the right place at the right time for such a time as this. Esther chapter 4, verse 14 says that, to be able to be the catalyst to save the people. And there's great faith associated with it, and Esther responds in such a godly way. She calls for prayer and fasting from all the Jews, and she does it personally. And after 3 days, she goes to talk to the king, risks her life, as we understand from the story, but she's well received by the king, and everything in the story turns from all this terrible evil that's going to befall Mordecai and the Jews, and even Esther herself, we understand, because she's a Jew as well, and she's at risk. Everything turns, and the evildoer, Haman, is the one who gets executed by the king. And then there's an edict that goes out that actually puts the Jews in a privileged state of protection and blessing and favor. And Esther receives Haman's estate. Mordecai is put in charge of it. It's just the most incredible reversal in such a short period of time, from going literally from death to life, as we talk about. So I love this story. I love her courage. I love the godly example. I love how she had just lived her life in a way, even with all kinds of challenges personally, where she honored the Lord. Her cousin did. And together they bring about this unbelievable change that God had purposed all along, but he chose her to be at the right place at the right time. So that's the story of Esther in a nutshell. But I think about us, and God has appointed us to live in this time. He didn't appoint us to live 100 years ago, 2,000 years ago, or before Christ came. He appointed us to live now and to be in a place and a time where people need to see the light of Jesus Christ, and to have courage and step up like Esther did to respond to circumstances that are confronting us. We're not the queen of Persia. We're not Esther, but that doesn't mean we can't have the same godly approach to life and godly approach to adversity, and to know that God is actually with us as we contend for what is right in his kingdom.
Oh, that's great. And what I really love about Esther, about the story, is about God is in the background. It's the one book in the Bible where he isn't explicitly mentioned, but we know he's back there, and I think that's great for us today, as you were just saying, where we're dealing with a lot these days, and it may be tough to see, hey, God, where are you in all this, in the pandemic, in the fires, in the social unrest? Where are you? Well, he's always there. He is a master strategist. He's moving things around behind the scenes, and we wonder, where are we don't see him until the end. Esther and Mordecai didn't know what was happening, what they were in for, until the very end when things turned around. And we're not going to know exactly how God's going to bless us until he does. But we need to have faith that he is that strategist, moving things around, getting things in the right order. So what should our attitude be towards God as this is happening? And what can we do to hinder him? Because again, Esther had choices. She could have gone a different direction, and it wouldn't have happened the way it happened in the book. So what should our attitude be? And how do we make sure that we aren't getting in the way when God's moving things around for our benefit?
I think one of the first things is, as we press into the Lord, we have to have this understanding. We are really important to him in this story of life and humanity. And we might just think, hey, I'm one of 7 billion people on this planet. Well, that's true. But each of us is unique. Each of us is important. And God has given us specific responsibilities. If I see that my responsibilities are really important, to be a good husband, to be a good father, to help out at church and minister and work hard and do all these things unto Christ, to bring glory and honor and share the gospel, then wow, I have an understanding that my role and assignment here is really important. I think some of us don't fully grasp how important each of us is with our assignment. But then the other thing is to have faith in God, even when things look like they're trending terribly, and you are walking through, like we've talked before, like David says in the Psalm, through the valley of the shadow of death, or everything is coming at you. God might just be allowing this to train you, to refine you, like we've talked about, and then to produce something remarkable that's even so dramatic that others take notice. Look at the life of Christ and his wonderful miracles in his ministry. And then he literally is arrested in the middle of the night, betrayed by a close friend, a disciple. And the disciples had to think, this is horrible. It's all going off the rails. And it was the very thing that had to happen for the next thing to happen, which was for Christ to give his life for us willingly and to sacrifice himself. So even in the darkest of moments, God is at work. And then he might be just ready to come through with the greatest sunshine and light that we've ever seen in our lives. And that's part of our unfolding testimony. So I think it's this greater understanding that God is there. He is in charge. Nothing takes him by surprise. And he wants us to believe in him so much that we're going to press on no matter what.
That's great. It's a message that I needed to hear, and that I think everyone watching needs to hear. I mean, that really spoke to me, because again, we're dealing with all these things, and it's tough. We always say, "Where's God?" Well, he hasn't gone anywhere. He always, just because we can't see him, and that's where faith comes in. That's why that's why the Bible talks so much about us having that type of faith. And yeah, so thank you for this message, Pastor Jerry. And can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be talking about this coming Sunday?
Yeah. I've been praying about this because we finished with this brief series on adversity. What I'm going to be sharing on this Sunday is about surrendering. Something that the Lord has been doing in my life, which is to continue to work with me on areas of my life that aren't completely surrendered to him. And when we come to Christ, initially, we have to recognize who he is and surrender to his will, just like he surrendered to the Father's will. And as we grow in Christ, we need to continue to do that on a daily basis. And when we don't, we're holding God back from doing what he's really purposing to do in our lives. And it's such a big deal. So in each of our lives, there's things that I know we can press in prayer. And we're even going to be praying and fasting starting on Sunday through next Wednesday. And this is actually inspired by the book of Esther. When things were really pressing in on her, she said, "I'm fasting, get everyone to fast, and there'll be a breakthrough here." I'm praying that we have a breakthrough personally for many of us, and also for our nation. And so we're going to be looking at doing that, but that also involves a complete surrender. Just trusting in you, Lord, and I'm surrendering my will to yours. This is what we need to do. But that is going to be the crux of the message this Sunday.
That sounds great. Look forward to talking about it next week. And I'll be working on fasting with you, and so we'll both be next week. We'll be talking through the fast, but I'm sure we'll be blessed and energized by God through that. So, Amen. Everyone, thank you for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel here for Lighthouse Church Novato. Please go to lighthouseChurchNovato.com. You will have all the messages there, along with the worship service and all that, just great stuff there. Please visit. Make sure you hit the like button and the notification button there, so you'll know as soon as these videos are posted. And we will talk to you next week. Pastor Jerry, I'll see you then.
All right, Ed. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless all.